I mean, I'd always heard, everyone's heard about radon. Everyone's heard about it. But I'm certified in this, until I took that class, I had no idea how it is terrifying because radon's literally everywhere. There's acceptable levels, So this is the thing about radon. It is the second leading cause of cancer right behind cigarettes. There's nothing else causing more cancer than radon except for cigarettes. That's how bad radon is.
So today we have Matt Balius. He is the owner of Bolt Certified Home Inspection. He combines his background in construction and in medicine. He conducts highly detailed home inspections and provides comprehensive but easy to read reports. He holds numerous industry certifications and is actively working towards his certified master inspector designation. He prioritizes straightforward, high-quality service over the upselling. He even gives his customers an urgency number in case they ever need to get a hold of him. Matt, thank you so much for being with us, and make yourself at home.
Okay. You forgot one thing. Maybe you didn't know. I also offer discounts for anyone in the medical field or education.
Oh, no, they didn't tell me that.
Yeah, we talked before. I might not have mentioned that, but that is something because me and my wife both have medical backgrounds, and then my brother-in-law are both teachers. So, some people do the military discount, which is admirable, or police, but I picked education and medicine for my discounts.
So, 10%. What inspired you after, like you told me that you had spent 15 years in construction, and then, after dealing with a bad back, which I completely understand, you turned into medicine and spent 15 years there. What made you then turn to home inspections?
Ironically, the ultrasound job was ruining my shoulder.
Oh.
I left construction because, like everyone, you pick up heavy stuff for 10 years, your back goes bad. But with ultrasound, you don't realize that you're constantly pushing down. So you get this, there's a tendon right here and it goes out. And then after a while, you're trying to do your job and it just feels like a nail. So I was trying to figure out something. And my wife actually suggested this. She saw there's a lot of, real popular influencer inspectors. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen Trey Hill, Gold Star. In fact, he's hilarious. So she had seen him, and then she sent me a link to that. She's like, you should be a home inspector. And I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing. I mean, we had bought a home and had an inspection, but to me, I thought like it had to pass for us to buy it. I didn't realize the inspection was for something for me to read and know about. I don't even think I read my first home inspection. I'm like, did we pass? Cool. Like, I thought it was like a car. But she suggested it, and I got online. I started looking at Internachi and Ben Gromiko. That guy's got a lot of videos. He's a super cool guy, and he makes you want to do it. He makes you want to be an inspector. And I spent about 2 years while I was still doing ultrasound, just focusing, doing all the classes, getting all the certifications, getting really ready for that state license test. It was a really hard test, the state license test. And I just did it. I just transitioned from ultrasound to home inspection. It's been great. The first few months are scary, but it's been really good. I love it. It's very fun.
Now, you have a unique way of looking at your home inspection business because it comes from your healthcare background. How does that healthcare background change your approach to diagnosing hidden defects in a house?
There's a word systemic that you'll hear in medicine. One thing affects another thing that affects another thing. And like houses are, there'll be bad ventilation, which is causing too much moisture in the air, which is causing mold in your closet, because your ventilation is bad. So to be a good inspector, you got to kind of connect those dots. You don't look just for the obvious. Yeah, you look for the obvious hole in the wall or the leak in the pipe, but sometimes there's subtle things. And that's what the gadgets, I got a lot of cool gadgets. Gadgets help you find subtle things. So like I used to be an ultrasound. In an ultrasound, you use a transducer. To find, a tumor or a blood clot, whatever. But for us, we use thermal, which is pretty cool because you can find a lot of things with this. This is a really good one too. This is a FLIR. But with this camera, of course, I can check is your air conditioner working right. But you can scan the ceiling and you can see is there missing insulation, because you'll see a very bright spot where it's hot, where there's no insulation. Or you also see if there's a leak, if there's water, and sometimes you don't see it in the drywall. Sometimes it's real subtle. There's like a HVAC up there and the condensate line is plugged, and so it's overflowing, and your drywall is just a little wet, but you can't really see it. This will see it. It'll show it as cold because the water will evaporate. So this will show not only a hot spot, but it can also show a wet spot. And if I'm not sure, here's another cool gadget. And actually, International gave me this for free at their Christmas party, but this is a FLIR moisture meter. Yeah, this one's really good. So these things together, if I think that's water up there, I can touch this and it'll go through concrete a few inches. If there's water back there, it'll find it. Also, like sometimes you'll go to a house and maybe there was a leak 12 years ago and they've had a new roof since then. There's not been a leak in 10 years, but there's still a stain. And you're looking at it and you're like, is that wet? That's what this is for. I can tell you wet or not. So these two devices right here are very helpful. Of course, I use a drone. I get on the roof too. I mean, sometimes, everyone focuses on getting on the roof, which is good too. But when you're on the roof, your view is actually a little bit limited. You don't want to just focus just being on the roof. You want to see it from a few angles. So I'll get on the ladder. I'll get on the roof. I'll use the drone. There's different, from far away or up close, you can notice different things on the roof. But these are all the little gadgets and tools I like to use to make a little easier and to quantify these things, really show the client what I'm seeing, not just tell them what I'm thinking.
So one thing that we hear a lot of is, oh, well, I'm just going to buy a brand new house. Then I don't need a home inspection because they're building it and, the county has inspections. So why would I need a home inspection on a brand new house?
I have a great answer for that. And this is not just for a brand new house. This is for any house. So a house is not like a Toyota built in a factory by robots. It's not. I mean, you buy a Toyota, it's the same Toyota, the first one off the line or the 1,000th off the line. It's the same car. There might be like a minute difference in one bolt, but everything else is the same. But on a home, a brand new home or 100-year-old home, you got to think you have a brand new home. Okay. So there's probably at least a dozen different crews that worked on that home. The people that pour the concrete, the plumbers, the electricians, they're all on top of each other, getting each other's way. There's framers, there's roofers, there's inspectors, all these people as a process. So it's like 100 different people, all of these different variables. Out of those 100 people, maybe like 85 of them are super good at their job. But then like 5 of them, it's their first day of their job. And another 5, they're like about to quit and they don't care. And then another 5, they're literally like drunk or something. So every now and then you get a house that everything's perfect, everything, it's a great day. Everyone showed up. But most of the time, even the best house, there's somewhere in there someone had a bad day. And that's why you can't just trust it. You can't, even if you're buying a house from like your brother or your mom, it's not like they're trying to rip you off. They just probably don't know what could be going on in there. So you need to know those things. And that's what inspection gives you, that peace of mind, so.
We tell our clients that homes are built by human beings and we all make mistakes. So you always want to make sure that you know what you're walking into.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's a big investment and it can go south really bad. I didn't buy it. I did an inspection recently, brand new house, about a $700,000 house, really nice house. Everything looks so good. I mean, it's brand new. It's a nice house. And I got up in the attic and I was looking, what trusses are, right? There's a truss. It's supposed to be every 24 inches of truss. And like, that's what holds the roof up. They're the triangle things. They come on a truck. And then, studs are on the wall every 16 inches. There's supposed to be space to start them out. So when you put the wood together, it all fits. If they're not on those 16-inch, 24-inch spacings, they don't fit. So I got up there, I'm looking in the attic and I'm like, that looks crazy. And I carry a little tape measure on me. I don't have it now. And I measured, and it was 33 inches apart, this one truss. Like, what the heck? So what that does is that's a structural integrity problem. Like if someone's on the roof, it's going to bend in, right? But the guy who bought the house, he was a really nice guy. It wouldn't have been his problem right away. He'd have been fine. The house would have been fine. But then when he goes to sell that house, the next inspector finds it, and then he would have had to pay the $10,000 to fix it. But we got the builders to get an engineer and re-engineer it and fix it to where, because you couldn't just, that was too much of a space. You can't just put an extra brace in there. They had to get someone to like redraw it, So, but yeah, that was a huge defect on a really nice new house. And then they also had a gas leak in the attic too. Right. I got a gas sniffer too. Like that's none of the gadgets. That's in the front of my car, but it'll smell if there's a gas leak. It's kind of neat.
So, what are some of the most shocking defects that you're finding on homes now, whether they be new, whether they're new construction or existing?
There's a lot of crazy stuff. This one doesn't sound as shocking, but if you have a toddler, I found water coming out of a tap at 170 degrees.
Oh, wow.
That'll burn your skin right off. I mean, that's almost boiling, But that was on a brand new house. And I just happened to have my thermal in because I check all the sinks, make sure there's hot water. Dang, it's hot. And that's not the craziest, but that's one you wouldn't really think about so much. Sometimes just the water, these guys get it out of the box, they set it up, they're not fine tuning anything. So sometimes those water heaters are way too high at first. But yeah, 170 degrees. I found there's a floor joist is what supports the floor. They're the beams underneath the floor. So plumbers don't care about structure. I've seen, it's one thing, there's rules about notching. You're not even allowed to notch too much. There's rules about holes drilled in. Certain places, I could go through the whole diagram, but this one just a notch or a hole. It was like a whole section of the beam just cut out so he could run a pipe. He didn't even notch it or make a hole. He literally cut here and here, like a whole section. And it was like, who cares about the floor structure? We got to get this toilet to flush, And I mean, the homeowner would have never seen that because this was in a crawl space, So that's the other thing is, man, there's the crawl space. The expression is it can hide a multitude of sins. People that come and do a repair on your house. I'm not saying all of them. A lot of times when you come in and you're doing work in the crawl space, you're pretty sure no one's going to look at it when you're done. So a lot of times the work in the crawl space is pretty bad, shoddy work. They just want to get out of there because it's miserable in the crawl space. Sometimes you go in there and you find stuff and you're like, but maybe that's just all they had the stomach to do that day. Because it can really, just being in the crawl space, not even working, just being in it, that's the struggle alone. But then in there, I'm sure running pipes, I'm sure it's really hard. So you'll see like a lot of, and they're sure that no one's going to see it usually down there. So you'll see a lot of problems in the crawl space.
That's similar because it's extremely warm in most attics. So
yeah, and especially if it's far in the corner because they know once you put the insulation down, it's not likely anyone's going to go over there. And I have found actually in the same roof that had the huge gap. So the trusses are supposed to meet. Sometimes it's like two half trusses and they come together to make this big triangle because it's such a big triangle you can't put it on a trailer. So where those were supposed to meet, they were like off by like 8 inches. That's where he had that big separation in the one. So if I had not really got in there, especially if I had not measured, that would have been a huge repair, say 10, 15 years from now when he decided to sell. Because, when you buy a house, you love the house, but you might sell the house. It's not just got to be right for how when you're living in it now. You really might have to sell that again. And if there's one of those big defects that you can live with while you're in it, it's going to mess you up when you try to sell it, So you got to catch that before you buy it,
What are some of the most common electrical or plumbing issues that are lurking in existing homes that sellers usually don't have any idea exist?
So in an existing home, like older homes, the biggest problem is like big red flag would be a Zinsco or Federal Pacific panel. These panels were made in the 50s and 60s, and they were used a lot. And it's just the way the breakers connect to the panel. They corrode and then they can start a fire. So Federal Pacific Zinsco panels, you could have had that your house that you got from your mom that has been in the family for 70 years and everything's been fine. But if I find that has to be replaced. You can't buy a house that has a Federal Pacific, panel. Well, you won't be able to get insurance. So like you have to have that replaced. Now the person living in it, they might have got an insurance policy 20 years ago and everything's fine. They had no idea. But the new buyer, they buy the house and it has Federal Pacific or Zinsco, they're going to be in trouble because then it's like, depending on the panel, you can spend $2,000 or more replacing that panel, and you would not have known that. Have you ever heard of Zinsco? Or
I actually haven't.
Yeah, Zinsco, and you'll notice it has like a diamond, the logo, and you'll see that it says Zinsco. default or defect, not default, or Federal Pacific, same thing. They are known to start fires. So you see those. It doesn't mean don't buy the house. That's the other. A lot of people sometimes they're afraid. I don't understand. I mean, I guess I kind of understand the mentality. They're afraid to get an inspection because they're afraid they're going to hear something bad about this house they want to buy, and then they won't buy it. And a defect doesn't mean don't buy it. Sometimes you get it's leverage. It's a bargaining chip sometimes. Sometimes you can get a little off of the price, or sometimes they'll fix it for you, or sometimes you just really need to know that. I don't think so. I think a lot of people are a little afraid of their inspection, because they love the house they pick. They look through all these different houses, and this one's like perfect, and the yard's perfect, everything's perfect. And then I come in and I find something, but it doesn't like another one in plumbing. Yes, is polybutylene pipes. It's real common. I mean, full disclosure, I have some in my house right now. So sometimes the plumbers, they will replace one part of it and leave some of the old pipes. But I have a few little sections of, it's called PV pipe. And PV pipe is known to leak. But that doesn't necessarily mean don't buy the house. It means maybe you need some plumbing work done before you buy the house, And now there are some things that mean like, probably don't buy the house. You find a whole lot of mold or something like that, or a whole lot of termites. I mean, there's some stuff that's like, don't buy the house. But a lot of the defects are, there's mitigation. There's things you can do to make it, if that's the house you love, if that's the house you really want. I mean, it doesn't mean don't buy it just because you found a defect. It just means now you know something about the house. New variable to the equation. Maybe the price goes down a little. I don't know. I mean,
well, and it may just be education. If you have polybutylene piping, a lot of the times it was the fittings that would go bad first before the pipes would fail. So a lot of times when we see polybutylene, and this is from the 90s, there was a class action lawsuit. It's no longer in place. So it's not anything, because it's been 30 years. There's not anything that you can actually do about it now, except for the simple fact of, one, it could be education. That you know what you're getting into before you walk into buying this home. You know what to keep an eye on, and you know the areas, or you also plan for later on. So an HVAC typically lasts an outside condenser will typically last about 15 years. Yep. That's an average. So
some last a lot longer.
Yeah, some of them do, So if you buy a house and the HVAC is 11 years, you know that you have to either, one, get a home warranty, if that's something that you like, or two, you save up for, in 5 years or so, we have to replace the condenser. You do the same thing for the polybutylene. If you have it in your home, you're like, okay, it's going to cost us maybe $10,000 to repipe the whole home, or $15,000. So we need to save up for that in case that happens. And you kind of stick that somewhere and you prepare. So a home inspection doesn't necessarily mean, yes, buy the house, don't buy the house. Does it pass? Does it not pass? But it could be education on...
Your checkup when you go to the doctor. I mean, he tells you your cholesterol's high. You probably could have guessed that. I mean, if I tell you that roof is near the end of its life, but it's not leaking now, you probably guess, hey man, if I buy this house, I'm probably gonna have to replace it. I mean, some of it's like knowledge you just need, I mean, but also if the doctor says, hey man, you got this mass in your pancreas, we need to take you to the major hospital, then, that's a major find. And I do find some of these finds that are like, the termites are like, if you find termite damage, sometimes it's incredible how bad the damage can be that you don't even see it you can walk around this house and then you go in the crawl space and you're like, you just put your finger through the wood, that's like, I would not at all suggest buying that house, and you do find that sometimes. I don't find it as much as I thought I would find it though, but I mean, you do find it sometimes.
So how can buyers differentiate between a normal aging house quirk and a catastrophic structural or mechanical defect?
Information and tact and how that information is given. Because, I mean, you can really scare somebody saying something that's, just good to know. I mean, some people, even the word mold, mold doesn't always mean don't buy the house. Mold is everywhere. Mold is literally outside all around me right now. So there's acceptable levels. Like in medicine, they say within normal limits, like, the size of a mass. Okay, it's not over that, so it's okay, but we're going to watch it, or like, I don't know, your aorta starts getting big, right? They don't do anything until it gets over 3 centimeters. Then they start, okay, but at 2.5, they want to see you again next year. So it's kind of the same with these. Like if I find something that I say, you probably will keep an eye on this in another year, maybe have me come out and do I do warranty inspections sometimes, like like if it's a brand new house, maybe something's just a little bit wonky about something, but it's not broken. We're just kind of looking at that. I come back 11 months, I do a little walkthrough, and we just look at the hot spots and see what, I don't look at all the walls, but, look at the mechanicals and electrical and plumbing and all that. And sometimes that's the monitoring thing. That is on some of my inspections. It'll say monitor. If it's just something not that bad, but look at it, keep an eye on it,
So one thing, because you're in the North Carolina area, so there's something that a lot of people are passing on or buyers are passing on. And that if you go down the rabbit hole, it'll scare the bejesus out of you. It's radon. So what exactly is the danger of radon, and why is testing for it critical?
Okay, so I'd always heard, everyone's heard about radon. Everyone's heard about it, but until I'm certified in this, until I took that class, I had no idea how it is terrifying, because radon's literally everywhere. Again, like mold, it's not like everyone's going to have a little bit in the air in their house because it comes out of the ground. There's acceptable levels, so this is the thing about radon. It is the second leading cause of cancer, right behind cigarettes. There's nothing else causing more cancer than radon except for cigarettes. That's how bad radon is. Like, people get cancer regularly from their home from radon, and I was not aware of that. So yeah, when you buy a home, it's a 48-hour test. You put the monitor there. I have 2 out right now. I'm actually going to pick one up today. There's a level of 4 picoliters, and if it's below that, then you want to have that tested. Like if it's if it's like 3 or 3.5, you probably want to have that test again in 6 months or a year. You might want to have that test. It's always going to be a little higher when you're using your heater. So, but where it comes from, though, this is the thing. It comes from the ground. It comes from rocks. It can be in your countertop. It can be in building materials. Sometimes when they're preparing the ground, sometimes they bring in dirt from, I don't know, Virginia. I don't know. They bring in dirt from somewhere else. Maybe that rocks from wherever that could have had radon. So maybe the house right next to you doesn't have radon because it was built 30 years ago, but this house was built recently and it had ground fill brought from somewhere else, and you could have radon brought in. So it is a test I would not pass on. I try really hard not be the upsell inspector. Because I don't know, for one, it's exhausting. I want to focus on using my eyes and my mind to really do an inspection really well. If I see signs of a wood destroying insect, I'm going to suggest that you see a professional about that. You can get the test. So for me to do that inspection, that's another state license. It's a whole thing, but I'm certified in it. So if I see those signs, I'm going to tell them. It's not an official termite report, but I'll advise them that they probably need to see somebody about that. Same with like sewer scope. I don't know. I kind of feel like that. I don't know if that's necessary on every single house. Maybe it is, but that gets upsold a lot, and that is very expensive equipment, and I'm just not ready there. So I'm focusing on knowing as much as I can on what I can use just my mind and eyes with, mainly, and a couple gadgets to give you a very affordable, but also very good inspection.
Like one of the things we talked about with radon, it does come from rock, and it can be in your granite countertops, and it can be in a lot of places. And most people don't know because it's airborne. What's the one thing that has changed significantly from when we were kids to now? Nobody opens their windows.
Sealed, yeah. Yeah, everything's sealed up.
And if you open your windows, you mitigate this factor. And it is easy to remove radon from your home once you find out, because it's a bathroom fan. It literally is a fan that just pulls the air out of your home and circulates the air. So it doesn't have to be scary.
And heaters and air conditioning, yeah, that's why we're in efficiency. You want to have that efficient home, have all the super sealed windows and all that, but it keeps the bad in, keeps the bad out, but it also keeps the bad.
Well, I was thinking, beyond radon, what are some of the common hidden, like, electrical fire hazards that are found inside walls that could look perfectly fine on them?
A lot of times, I thought I had my little ground tester. A lot of times you'll see a GFI outlet, GFCI outlet, but then you test it and it's not actually wired for that. It's sometimes, they'll have those old 2-prong wires. They'll wire that into, it'll look like a GFC outlet, but it's not even grounded properly. So definitely a problem. You don't see that a whole lot. You see that on some of these flip houses, where it's like a really beat up old house and they're trying to flip it really quick and they get someone to come in and do their electrical over the weekend that probably should not have been doing their electrical. But I do have a little tester. I swear I thought I had it on me. It's great. You just plug it in. It tells you all kind of great information about the outlet. You can test whether it's grounded or sometimes it's reverse polarity. But I'll go through and I usually don't check every single outlet. I check every outlet I can easily see and get to. I mean, if it's an empty house, I'm more likely to check pretty much all of them. But, sometimes the houses, there's people living in it and there's furniture and stuff like that. So a home inspector is not, you can't see through stuff. You can only inspect what you can really see. And sometimes there's a lot of limitations. Sometimes I go in some houses and it's like a hoarder lived there and it's been sealed up for 2 years. And I'm trying to give somebody an idea of how bad this house is, but I can't even see the floor at all. But the more you can see, obviously, the better. We do our best. We're going to do our very best. We're going to tell you what we see, what we think, but there's definitely going to be stuff we miss because you just can't see through a wall. We're not, you can kind of see through a wall with thermal, but you can't do the entire exam like that. Or, sorry, I'm still inspection. I still got a little medical in me. Sometimes I say exam or yeah, I do. I really do treat the home like a patient. Like I want to get in there and I try to be as kind and empathetic to the buyer as I possibly can because they're going through all kind of emotional stuff too. They got a lot of money online. I'm inspecting this house because they love it and they want to buy it. But then I got to explain stuff, and it's an interesting job. Inspection's an interesting job, and I like it a whole lot.
So, how can an inspector explain major property defects with enough tact, clarity, and even compassion to inform a buyer, but not cause unnecessary panic?
Well, first, I think you got to kind of establish a little bit of a relationship with that person first. If it's all just on the report and in a text, how they're reading it could totally be different how you sent it. You got to talk to them as much as you can. Sometimes it's only going to be on the phone. Encourage them to call me after the report, because a lot of, it's weird. Some people, and that's fine. I mean, I know there's so much to it when you're buying a house, but some people, they get their report and they just kind of ghost you. You never even hear anything else bad. They buy the house and but I mean, I'm just a guy. But sometimes they never even give you any input back at all. But I try to, before I even do the report, try to open up that line of communication. So when they hear it from me or read it, they'll ask more questions. Like if they're concerned, and then I can try to explain it to them. Like, still a cool house, buy the house, or they don't buy the house. I think that's where it really has to be actual verbal communication, really, to really keep them from freaking out. Because when you just read, just like a report, like if you go to the doctor and he did all these tests and then he didn't come back in the room, he just gave you one piece of paper that had all the stuff wrong with your body, but he didn't say that this is normal for your age. And he just gave you that, you'd be freaking out, But when he comes in and he goes over it, and it's not that big a deal, unless it is a big a deal. Every now and then it's a big deal. But a lot of times it's not that big a deal. You're still going to buy the house anyways, and now the gutters are bad, or something like that. So
sometimes we tell our clients that, when the home inspector comes in, to give him a little bit of time. So on an average home inspection, 1,500 square foot house, it'll take you about 2 or 3 hours. And so we usually tell everybody, hey, expect to come probably about 2 hour, 15 minute, 2 hour, 30 minute. That way your buyer is there and can actually talk with you, see the pictures that you have, walk to the area that was there, so they can put their hands on it and touch it and feel it and understand it. A lot of times that's helpful.
Yeah, I do think in this kind of current society we have, it is so easy to just text and email everything, especially with a big project like buying a house. I mean, it's a whole bunch of stuff to do. You got your bank and this and that, and you're trying to sell a house. And then there's this inspector that going to drop bad news on you, you know. So I think trying to be as personable as possible and empathetic to whatever they're going through and open up that line of communication first. I think that is really key. Even though I try, it doesn't always happen. I mean, some people don't want to, and that's fine. Some people just want to do, that's fine. I'll do that too. But I think it's best because I can't believe, you know, I bought a house in Florida, like a block from the beach, and it had so many problems, but I didn't know about because I did not even read my report. When I bought my house, we were so overwhelmed by it was our first house. We were so overwhelmed by everything. I literally, in my head, I thought it was just part of the process that I just had to have done, but it wasn't really something I needed to be so involved in. I don't understand how I let that slip like that. Looking back now, I don't even understand how I did that. But yeah, we bought the house and I didn't even look at it. You know, I just got it done. And so I tried to get past that on some people and, like, you know, talk for a little bit about it, you know.
As a real estate agent, is there a way that we can get our clients prepared for a home inspection so they don't get overwhelmed?
Well, you know, you could say you can look stuff up online, and you can. So there's the thing. I say Internachi, but I think it's supposed to be Internachi. But the Internachi website, the home inspection website, so much free information on there. So many videos that explain almost any question you could ever think of about a home. And so I have a book. It's the Internachi book. When I do a home inspection, I leave that book. It's a maintenance book, also written by Ben Gromiko, and they can look at that. And that answers a lot of those questions too. But yeah, if you also you tell them look on the internet, they can find something that tells them a whole lot of terrible stuff. So I think really the best is just to try to talk to them through an email or verbally. Try to share that information. I'm a big fan of Internachi. I don't know. I share them a lot because there's just so much information there. And, you know, I hand out the book and I just hope they listen and buy their house because they want to buy it. You know, they want the house, you know. So I don't want to tell someone to not buy a house unless there's a serious reason to not buy a house. But I don't want someone to buy a house and not know about something they should have known. You know what's wild? You know, I just thought about this. There's been 3 times, and I'm not sure if this was like a meteorite or a falling bullet or someone shooting. But I do this thing in the attic. Go up in the attic. I mean, first you look around with your flashlight and everything, and then you turn the lights off. Attic real dark, and 3 times I found holes like that through a roof, like, and you'll see the beam of light coming through, and I'm like, is this like something fell from space, or just so New Year's? Sometimes people shoot guns and bullets fall, but I mean, perfect holes through ceilings that you wouldn't even have noticed, you know, and there'll just be like a little bit of water underneath it because a perfect hole, a lot of water on a roof, a lot of water is not going to get through that, you know. It's just a drop or two is going to get through, so they don't make huge leaks. But yeah, it's just a weird thing I found. I don't know what just reminded me of that. That is
single holes, just one, so it wouldn't be wouldn't be like from a direct TV, you know, satellite dish or anything. Like just one
quarter size.
Oh, okay.
Something I wish I could. I mean, I have it on my phone. It's like quarter size. I think either a meteorite. I mean, stuff falls from space all the time. Stuff does fall all the time, or maybe a piece of an airplane. I don't know. Or maybe you don't always know the history of the house. I mean, someone's shot in the house. I don't know, but sometimes 3 times I found that perfect holes in the ceiling, and so that's why I do that now every time. And the first time was by accident. I clicked my flashlight wrong and it clicked off, and then I was like, whoa, and I could see the little beam of light coming through. And ever since then, I'll go in the attic and I'll look at everything with my flashlight, and then I'll turn the light off and turn my flashlight off and look around and see if I see weird light coming in from different places, because that's when that, you know, no one's trying to trick you on that. That's something no one knew about. The hole in the roof from God, I don't know. But yeah, that is something that you would not expect to find. It definitely surprised me when I found it. Oh, you know, I found one time I was in a basement, and people lived in this house. People lived in this house, and they were cat people, right? And there was a bunch of cats in this house, and I'm doing the whole thing, and I go down in the basement, and someone lived in the basement. There was a bed in the basement. It's all these cats, and I'm looking around, and I'm like, what the heck? That cat looks weird. It was a possum coming out of the corner with a mouse in its mouth, with a cat following it. That's probably one of the most surprising things I found in a home inspection. I did not expect to see a possum being chased by a cat while it had a mouse.
For dinner.
I mean, I have it all on video too, because I'm walking through and I'm like, what? Oh, I showed that to my kids when I came home. You find crazy stuff, but you know another thing about home inspection, it's kind of the same like when you work with patients. We're all kind of the same. I mean, I go in some houses that are like 700 square foot catastrophes, very bad situation, very poor people maybe, or like a really nice 8 bedroom house. And you open the spice cabinet, and almost everyone's got the same stuff. There's like certain stuff that we all do the same. There's always someone's got a drawer with some Walmart bags in it. It's kind of neat. You see how same almost everyone is, especially how they live. I mean, even it might not be the same house, but I don't know. It's an interesting thing to go into people's houses like this, you know, because a lot of them there are people still living in the house and they're trying to sell their home and look at it. You see a lot of stuff, you know. It can be, and you connect with people too. It's a really interesting job.
So in today's age, what's the most concerning trend that you're seeing either in home maintenance or even construction quality that buyers need to be on the lookout for?
So I can't say any builders' names wrong, but so I feel like there's such an urgency to build fast, and everyone wants a big house but cheap. I think honestly, people should focus on maybe a little bit smaller houses but better built. I mean, we're buying left and right. Everyone, you know, 50 years ago to say I'm gonna get a, it was like normal to get like a 4 bedroom, 2,500 square foot house. You know, like that. That was like rich people 50 years ago. That was a big deal. Most people lived in like 1,000 square foot or maybe a little more, a little less. I mean, as the houses get bigger, and we expect to not pay too much, and we need them fast. We're trying to fill in there. It's just bigger and less quality. I mean, they put them up so fast, and you know, you'll find stuff that, like I said, sometimes someone's new to the job. It's their first day installing an air conditioner, you know, or sometimes it's someone's very last day and they're like, I've had it, I'm out of here, and they just leave it half done. I think if we just spent a little more on the construction and a little less on the size, I think we just reeled it in just a little bit and focused on a little bit smaller of a house, a little bit more quality. I think everything would move so much smoother, but it's not like that. Everyone wants it fast, real big, and as cheap as you can get it.
Well, what's the rule of thumb? You can have it quick, cheap,
Exactly.
or good, and you can pick two out of the three.
Yeah, you can't have all of them. Yeah, I just think, I mean, I'm not knocking big houses, but you see these subdivisions being built really quick with a lot of, not huge, but pretty decent sized houses. And they're making them, you know, 2 or 3 days on each house. And it's just too many variables in something that big to do it that fast. You know, downsizing, I know it sounds crazy, but I think that would be the greatest thing if that kind of picked up, you know, because it seems like it's the opposite. Even with vehicles, like everything's just getting bigger and bigger, you know, and like it's cool, but at the same time, you know, I don't know, I would prefer a smaller, high quality house than one of these really big, they call them like McMansions, you know, that's what I'd be looking for.
So for our listeners that are currently under contract on a home, what is absolutely the most important question that they need to ask their inspector before their due diligence period ends?
That's a really good question. I mean, I guess, you know, you obviously, is there any red flag? The most important question, I guess it would have to be the electrical. You had to make sure, because so, especially if you're buying an older home, some older homes, I mean, because there's so many really great questions, but particularly older homes, if they have older electrical fittings or aluminum wires, you know, over time, those wires, when electricity passes through a wire, it expands and contracts, right? So aluminum expands and contracts way more than copper. So it conducts fine, but over the years, you'll even hear it buzzing sometimes. You ever heard a switch buzz? It's because now it's loose because it's expanded and contracted so many times. Now that electricity is going through it, it's bzzz, and eventually it starts arcing and it can start a fire. So I guess if I had to, I mean, there's air quality. There's so many super important things, but I mean, bad electrical can light your house on fire and burn everyone and burn the whole thing to the ground. So I feel like electrical would probably be the most important thing to be sure of, especially if it's an older home. I mean, a newer home, you're most likely to have a good electrical system in a brand new home. Most electricians, when they're first installing it, you open those panels, those look great. old stuff or stuff that's been worked on. That's where, it's maybe they've unscrewed this one bolt 2 or 3 times, and now now it don't fit just right. It starts to wiggle, starts to arc, gets hot. You ever touch a switch and it's hot? Yeah, I mean, that's because that's expanding and contraction. It makes a little friction in there, and it literally, the wires will get hot. That's from resistance. So, by the way, I love electrical and I love physics. So with ultrasound, you have to know physics really well to pass the registries for ultrasound. So when I started doing this, all of the electric, because that was my one weakness. I built a lot with construction and piping and plumbing and welding, all kind of construction, but I never did a lot of electrical. So after I learned all the physics for ultrasound, then I learned electrical and I applied some of those same. Physics is awesome because there's not a lot of variables to fit. It is this, that, and that's kind of how electrical is. And that's so I got the electrical. That's my whole symbol is the bolt. Electrical is cool, physics is cool. So I think if you had to really know about just one system, it's a tough one because they are all real important. I think I'd really want to know the electrical.
Matt, I so appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for being with us. We have all of your information. We will give it out to everybody. And as a reminder, you do give discounts to all the medical field and also in the educational field as well. And we will give all of our listeners your website on how to book you in the North and South and Virginia areas.
Well, so Virginia, you can't book me for Virginia. I do that through a different company. It's through Inspectify. I'll go to Virginia, but I don't have a license myself for them. But I do through Inspectify through Virginia and South Carolina. But North Carolina, anywhere in North Carolina within, 100 miles from Clemens. Right now, I'm trying to do as many as I can. Yep. Trying to be that master, So
I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining me on Make Yourself at Home. I hope you found insights and inspiration to help you navigate your real estate journey with confidence. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and share this show with your friends because everyone deserves to feel at home. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and keep making moves that matter.